Hey, so this is question number 2A of the practice test for Marble Canyon, and the high jumper is trying to break the distance record at the next Olympics. The current world record is 29 feet. Okay, so that's a important number for us in this situation. So he's trying to jump from 0 feet to 29 feet. And the high jumper has calculated that the best angle for him to jump would be 45 degrees. Tell you the truth, 45 degrees, you don't need to worry about that. Okay, so I got a little diagram. The jumper, he runs, takes off, and he's going to try to get past 29 feet. So let's see if he's able to do it. If the long jumper jumps at a speed of 8 feet per second, the equation that models his flight through the air will be this thing. Now remember, this is a speed, 8 feet per second. Remember that, or it tells us in our equation, it says where x, so our x values, they're the horizontal distance traveled. So this x and this x. So it's how far he's gone horizontally. The f of x, the function part of it, is the vertical distance above the ground. So the x is how far he's traveled horizontally, and the f of x is how far he's off the ground. So you can imagine that when he jumps, if this is the x, which is his horizontal distance, and this is f of x is going to be 0 at 2 points, when he takes off and when he lands back on the ground. But he's always going to be traveling in the x direction. Okay, so it says at the speed of 8 feet per second, how far will the jumper travel horizontally? Will he break the record? And it says show your steps, explain how your algebra steps support whether the jumper will break the record. Okay, so what you need to do is take this equation and you're going to write it down here. So you have f of x equals 0.5 x minus 0.075 x squared. Now we're wondering if the jumper will break the world record. Now remember, if he's gonna travel 29 feet, let me draw my graph again. What is the f of x going to be at this point? Well, it's 0 because he's landed back on the ground. So what we're wondering is when f of x equals 0, what is x? And remember that, so we want to find out what x is when f of x equals 0. And in order to find that, you gotta use the quadratic equation, or quadratic formula. And remember, the quadratic formula is ax squared plus bx plus c. Now, in our equation, it's kind of backwards. We got the x squared on the right side and the x on the left side. So let's change those around to fix that first. So we got 0 equals, let's bring this negative 0.075 x squared on the left hand side. And then the positive 0.5x on the right hand side. Okay, so now we have our a, we have our b, and in this equation we actually don't have a c, right? There's no c number here. So c is going to be 0. So let's write that down. So a equals this number. And then b equals this number. And then our c equals 0, because there is none. Okay, so we have all of our numbers. Now we can put them into the formula. So we got negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. Now all you need to do is just put your numbers in. So you do negative 0.5 plus or minus square root of 0.5 squared minus 4 times 0.075 times our c is 0. So that's going to be times 0. And that's all over 2 times a, which is negative 0.075. Alright. So we're going to just bust out the math here. Let's bring the calculator back. Plus or minus square root 0.5 squared. And then notice that negative 4 times 0.075 times 0 just equals 0. So that goes away. All over, let's do 2 times negative. Negative 0.15. So 2 times 0.075, negative 0.15. Okay, so keep going. Plus or minus. Notice that the square root and the squared, this just cancels out. They're opposites of each other, kind of like plus and minus. So square root and squared, they cancel out. And then you just get 0.5. All over negative 0.15. Okay, now we have a plus or minus here. So we need to split this up into 2 equations. We do negative 0.5 plus 0.5 divided by negative 0.15. And on the right hand side we do negative 0.5 minus 0.5 all over negative 0.15. So on the left hand side you do negative 0.5 plus 0.5. That equals 0. And you know 0 divided by anything just equals 0. So on the left hand side you have 0, which makes sense. I'll let you know why in a second. Minus 0.5 equals negative 1 over negative 0.15. And then that equals negative 1 divided by negative 0.15 equals 6.67. Okay. So we have our answers x equals 0 and x equals 6.67. Now remember, back up into our paragraph here. X is our horizontal distance. So that means that when when f of x equals 0, remember we made f of x equals 0, that means that when f of x equals 0 happens at when x equals 0 and when x equals 6.67. So this is f of x and this is x. So we're trying to figure out, the original question was, will the person break the world record? And the world record is 29 feet. So obviously the jumper did not break the world record. So we'll write because we only travel 6.67 feet. So the long jumper did not break the record, comma, because he only traveled 6.67 feet. So he's touching, he has zero vertical height at 0 feet and at 6.67 feet, which is not the 29 feet that we're looking for. So he's way short of that. So this dude needs to keep practicing. Okay, so that is the second problem. And so when you understand that, then go on to the third problem.